Happy New Year, everyone. Nick from Comic Culture here. Time for Nick at Night, my weekly comic book review show. Let's get into the books I read this week. Slim pickings, mostly Marvel and DC. I got one indie book, though, for you. We're going to start with the Ultimates issue number 8. Dennis Kemp on this one. I will say the cadence for the Ultimates books is interesting. It kind of jumps around a whole lot throughout the entire series. You know, it's not so fluid, but it still is really interesting. Dennis Kemp is doing a good job of giving us this foundational Ultimates Universe team book, like the Avengers in a way. We face off against like some of the council members and things like that, all leading up to this big battle with the Maker that's supposed to be coming in several months. This issue is pretty cool because America Chavez has actually entered the team right now, and Dr. Doom is playing with some timey-wimey stuff, and they're setting the team off onto an adventure to meet up with some other time anomaly, and we get to see exactly what that is inside here. So in this issue, we get an introduction to the Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy, which was really, really cool. The different members in the team, they were really interesting. We have our Captain Marvel character, we have our Star-Lord character, of course we have Cosmo on here as well, and the Ultimate Nullifier. Insane kind of stuff. They actually have a history with Chavez, and they've seen the future. They've been jumping all around the place. They've seen like where this battle goes with the Maker, and they're trying to like pull her over back to their side. Again, they're time travelers as well. They've seen it all and they've experienced it all, but the interaction between them was pretty cool. Everyone kind of ignores their warnings like, hey, if you go down this path, you will be wiped out, but they're not really buying it. Captain America's not buying it, and they're just kind of going forward and just doing whatever they can do because they feel like it's a natural thing to do. All the displays of powers that this Guardians team has was really awesome, and their little like mini battle with our Ultimates team was pretty interesting as well. So if you want to see what the Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy looks like inside this universe, this is the issue for you. It gives us a little bit of America's background as well, so I thought they handled all that really well. Art was good too. Let me know if you read the Ultimates issue number 8 down below. Next book from Marvel is Deadpool Wolverine issue number 1. Benjamin Percy on this one. I will say if you were a Marvel reader back in the 90s, I think you're going to really enjoy where this story is going. There is a villain that's been locked up for a very long time that has now been like unearthed, right, and unleashed back onto the world. So now Deadpool and Wolverine have to team up against this threat. There's a lot of callbacks from early 90s comics, so I think you're really going to enjoy that if you read those. But even if you didn't, you're going to know this character. He's just been everywhere, and so it's pretty cool to see them coming back. And there's also a little bit of brainwashing with Deadpool, certain things going on. You have the classic banter between the two characters. You have an opening page for each one of them, or a small opening story to kind of like get you oriented as to where they are right now. Ultimately, it leads to a little team up, and now they have to go against the odds and, of course, save the world like they always do. But Deadpool Wolverine, pretty interesting story so far. I might read a couple extra issues just to see where the story goes. Let me know if you read it, though, down below. All right, let's jump over to DC. We have Justice League, the Atom Project issue number 1. So we have Ryan Perot on this, Giant Ridley, and we have Mike Perkins. So I really don't know a lot about the characters that are portrayed inside this book. The main takeaway, though, is still really interesting. New reader friendly, kind of, but I think it's the point of the book is more important than the characters inside of it. And the point is, in the last event, the Amanda Waller event, when she siphoned all the heroes' powers and whatnot, some of the powers were returned back to their original hosts. Some of them were modified, or they went to different hosts. So there's a whole team in the Watchtower dedicated to like trying to figure out a way to return one's powers back to them that they've collected from other people. If you read the Justice League issue number 2 that came out the other week, there's a Martian Manhunter little side quest that he goes on to save some kids from this like alien threat. He talks about the fact that he got some of his powers back from the last event, but not all of them. And he's kind of keeping it a secret right now. A lot of that's going to be touched on inside of this series, the Atom Project, which I think is a pretty cool concept, seeing that we have a huge unlimited resource of Justice League members right now, and we have this like absolute world coming down, the missing Darkseid, all this cool stuff, but we also have these missing powers thrown into there, so I think that's going to be pretty cool, especially if those powers get adopted by somebody else, and that person has nefarious ideas. All that stuff they allude to inside of this book. Let's get the powers back into the right people, and kind of like reset the status quo. Really cool concept. Again, it has a lot of characters that I'm not familiar with. Maybe you are if you're a long-term DC fan. You don't need to know those characters. It's the message of the book that's more important than the characters themselves. So Atom Project issue number 1, not too bad. I think it might be worth it if you're into this all-in universe. Might want to check it out. Let me know if you did, though, down below. Let's talk about Poison Ivy issue number 29. I actually read this one. It's been a while since I read Poison Ivy. I actually started the G. Willow Wilson run, this run right here, when it first started. Read about 2 arcs in, and kind of fell off of it. It was just just heading in a direction that wasn't so interesting, and I fell off. A lot of books out there. We have Takara still on the art here, which is incredible, gorgeous, beautiful. Just love the coloring on this book as well. So visually speaking, still outstanding. Highly recommended from that point of view. But I will say, if you fell off after the first couple of arcs, this is actually a pretty good time to jump back into it. She finds herself in the West Coast right now. She's trying to find this leader of a cult who's obsessed with like the Green Witch or something like that, whatever they're calling themselves. Somebody who's like overly obsessed with like the planet and everything else, like extremists, right? And so she's trying to get some more information about this group, who the leader is and whatnot. She has some hunches, and so she finds like a former ally / enemy and whatnot that we saw back in the early stages of this run right here. She's trying to uncover all the truth behind this cult kind of a thing. So this book is all about kind of like the demons of the past, some former allies, former enemies of the past, coming back around and trying to like do more with her presence, her essence, her power, something like that, trying to draw her back in to the cause. So all in all, it wasn't too exciting, but if you liked the first couple of arcs of this run right here, you can dive back into this. Maybe it'll lead somewhere exciting. We're trying to uncover this cult and the leaders behind it. Poison Ivy number 29. Let me know if you read it down below. Next up is Batgirl issue number 3. We have Brumble on this one. So Cassandra Cain was my favorite Batgirl. Now, I'm not totally versed in all the Batgirls, but I like the presence that she brings into a fight. Whenever the Bat family's together and she shows up, everyone kind of takes notice and is like in awe about how special she is and how powerful and like menacing she is. Really like her as a character. This right here kind of pulls back the veil a little bit and gets into her mind. We learn a lot about her family. Her mom especially is like a leader of the secret organization that we explore inside this issue. We meet a lot of the members and the mission that we're on. And what's cool is like they have a different viewpoint of this woman, like Lady Shiva, than Cassandra does. Cassandra was raised by like this tyrant. It's kind of explained inside this book, but everybody else that's on her side thinks of her as like a savior in a way. So it's kind of cool to see her interacting with some of these people, not always agreeing on like her mission statement and whatnot, but it is pretty interesting to see that kind of change right there. The other cool thing is they actually raise the stakes in this book and try to tell you how much of a threat this new organization is that's attacking Cassandra and her mom and the organization she's setting up right now. This threat is so dangerous that a lot of powerful villain teams are actually teaming up right now to take on this threat because they all view it as a potential threat to them and like their dominance and whatnot. So we're going to be bringing together a lot of interesting characters, a lot of interesting villains, and we're going to throw in Batgirl at the same time and like all the baggage that comes along with that, with like the trust and everything. That's going to be kind of special. So Batgirl's turning into a book that I'm interested in reading. 3 issues in. Art is pretty cool too. Really great train montage scene in this book in the middle of it. Great fight scene and everything. So issue number 3 of Batgirl. Let me know if you guys are reading this and what you guys think down below. Next up, we got Two-Face issue number 2 from Christian Ward. Interesting concept right here. Of course, we have Harvey Dent. We have Two-Face. Harvey being the main persona right now. He has developed some kind of a psychological prison for the Two-Face persona that we explore in this issue. Really cool stuff there. He's actually battling all these different memories and whatnot, having conversations with like a fake Maroni, and he's trying to develop a way to escape this mental prison that Harvey has put him in. In the meantime, Harvey is actually an attorney in like this criminal organization justice system right now, and he's trying to prove that his client is innocent. It's actually the King and Queen of Hearts. They're going at each other right now. There's a whole like adultery thing going on. He was set up by like the White Bunny or something like that, and it's kind of cool to see him going and relying on other people to do some detective work to like clear his client. Really cool stuff. I think the most interesting part though is the fact that Harvey has built this mental prison for Two-Face to live in, and we're being teased right now that he's trying to find a way out of there and he has a plan to escape. So what does that mean when it actually does happen? What kind of terror is he going to go on, and are we going to shut Harvey down in a similar manner? The other interesting part though is the other people around Harvey Dent in this like criminal justice system don't know it's not Two-Face. Like he's hiding the fact that he's hidden that persona. So some of them are on to him right now, and so we're going to see if that comes back to bite him at the end. Cool things happening inside of Two-Face. Issue number 2 is out. Let me know if you're reading it. Batman 156, Chip Zdarsky on this one. Chip's run's going to be ending here very shortly. We're going to have another Hush run coming up after this, so stay tuned for that. So we're going to be winding down this story where the Riddler's kind of taken over everything. He's trying to acquire shares from Wayne Enterprise. He's amassed a lot of money, right? He's made some allies in areas that are pretty risky, and we get to see exactly what that has turned into or what the ultimate plan was at the very end of this book. book, and it's got me a little excited to see where it goes. It's a shame it's ending right now because I've actually been digging the last few issues. The arc where Commissioner Gordon gets set up and we're trying to prove his innocence, and we kind of do inside here, but we have to like catch these people before they escape because they have some pretty invaluable information, and if it gets into the wrong hands, it can create worldwide havoc. So throughout this issue, you have Batman and Jim Gordon just completely blitzing the Riddler's, tower right here, trying to get to him before it is too late. Visually speaking, there's a lot of cool things happening inside this book. The coloring is great as well, and you can tell the story is going to be wrapping up very, very shortly. So at the end of the day that Batman's going to stop whatever this problem is, and I'm not going to give away the villain that's revealed at the end because I think it's cool and I think you should read it on your own. But it's got me excited to see like how this is going to be wrapped up here very soon, and how do we transition into the next run. We'll find out here soon enough. But Batman 156, it's not a bad end to Chip's run right here. What'd you guys think of it if you read it? Next up from Jason Aaron, we have Absolute Superman issue number 3. Kind of a slow burn book. That's not to say that there's not a lot of excitement in here, but I just want to know more about the Absolute Superman character in present day. A lot of flashbacks. This book is mostly that. We're exploring what happened to Krypton. Now, the people that have been running Krypton right now, they haven't exactly been heeding the warning of, everybody else around them, the scientists around them, the people who are working underneath the ground, that like, hey, things are going to be erupting soon. We should take precaution. They're not listening right now. So, of course, Kal-El's parents are taking it into their own hands, developing some kind of an escape plan here. Well, in this issue, all hell kind of breaks loose and the world starts falling apart. And we see that, maybe this was more well known than they're letting on, and they had their own plans to escape. But, in essence, leaving a lot of other people behind. So I will say the most exciting thing about this one is we're exploring some of the technology and some of the inventions that Kal-El's parents were developing, right? This like suit, the cape, whatever it might be, the spaceship that we're eventually just going to throw him on and shoot him out into space. We see a little bit more of that inside this issue. And there's some really cool, epic like moments in this book, which is really awesome. And so I think, I'm interested in the history of this character, but so far this is the only Absolute book that's spent more time in the past than the present. And so I'm anxious to get to the present and see what we're doing, where we are. It's cool to have this origin story and this back matter, but I want to see what our present day Superman is doing right now. So we're 3 issues in. We don't know a whole lot about the character yet. Issue 2 gave us the most. Issue number 3 is a great backstory issue. What'd you guys think? Then lastly, from Image Comics, we have Saga issue number 71, Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan on this one. Absolutely love that cover right there. The reason to buy the single issues of Saga. If you're just picking these up for the story, man, get them in trade because like the single issue Wednesday Warrior routine is like very frustrating currently with Saga, but the story is still great. This is a story about family on the run, on the hide, right? We have this Romeo and Juliet kind of a situation early on. They have a child, Hazel. Now the child's grown up into the teenage years. We're still trying to run around right now, hide our identity from everybody essentially. So we're doing a really careful job of like keeping things private, choosing who our friends are throughout this entire series. And so far they've had pretty good success keeping that all under wraps. But as of late, there's these little threads here and there, these spies all throughout the galaxy, trying to figure out who these people are, trying to find Hazel, the daughter of like the forbidden love. So, eventually that's going to slip up. Some secrets are going to get revealed, things like that. A lot of cool ancillary characters throughout this entire story. The artwork in here has always been incredible from Fiona Staples, just doing an amazing job on the art and the coloring and everything. Just some pretty crazy, just beautiful pages and whatnot. Talking head stuff is really interesting in this book as well. Again, these characters, we've been accustomed to them, right? We are fearful for them. We don't want them to get in harm's way. And some of the characters switch around a little bit, which is really cool. They start off as villains, they're heroes all of a sudden. They kind of go in that gray area from time to time. So it is really cool to see like the evolution of the characters and the story throughout these 70s plus issues. But I will say the single issue format is really hurting this as of late. I would say if it was a monthly book, I think it would be outstanding. You'll have a lot of memories going from issue to issue, but it comes out every few months. Really hurts the reader's experience, I think. Read this in trade. I think it's one of the best books ever written in that format. Let me know if you read it down below. All right, guys, that's all I read this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you read and what your favorite books of the week were down below. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out new videos. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the comments.